First guest tonight, he's performed all over Australia, all over the world in fact, in the theatre, on films, on television, and tonight he is right here. Please put your hands together and welcome Henri Szeps. Wow, you got a voice whistle too. You're sexy, hear that?
Thank you.
The older man, the silver fox. It's good having grey hair, isn't it?
Yes.
How have you found this out, Richie? Because you're sort of known as an Australian iconic character actor. You were born in Switzerland.
Yes.
So you're Swiss?
Well, yeah. No, you're not. No, it's very, very hard to get Swiss citizenship.
Yeah.
I was born in a refugee camp.
Right.
So I was kind of passing through from their point of view. So piss off, you know.
Okay.
But I'm Swiss. No, you're not. You were just passing through.
Oh.
So, no, I'm an
what age
Aussie
were you
now.
when you came here?
How old was I? 8.
8, yeah.
But it's a lovely, complicated story. I was born in this refugee camp, and my mother saw babies around us falling ill and dying, and so the Salvation Army and the Red Cross in Switzerland had networks of families prepared to take in babies at risk. So when I was 11 months old, I was fostered out to this wonderful, staunch Lutheran family who saved my life, basically. And when the war was over, my mother was back in Paris, which is where she'd been living. She was Polish, but she'd escaped. And she wanted me back. So I was 3 years old, and I was introduced to this woman who I didn't know, who spoke no language that I could understand, told, "This is your mother, get on with it." So I did.
What languages could you speak then?
Swiss. I was a little Swiss. She was French. She was speaking French.
Polish,
yeah,
and
yeah, absolutely. And when she had developed an inner ear infection, you want the whole story? She had developed an inner ear infection in the refugee camp, and she kept having to have operations that never cleared up. So when I was 4.5, she had to go into hospital. My father had left. He had gone to save France by joining the French resistance and another woman.
Uh-huh. That's usually where the resistance comes in.
She's on her own, and she's got to go into the hospital, so I go back to the Swiss people at 4.5. I don't speak Swiss anymore now. I'm a little froggy, so I'm a foreigner again. And when I was 6, she wanted me back, and they didn't want to let me go because they knew that she couldn't look after me. And there was a tug of war, and she won, and I went back to her. My 7th birthday was celebrated in a Rothschild's orphanage outside Paris, and my 8th birthday was celebrated here in Australia. And from that time on, I have had a wonderful new Australian WOP Refo upbringing.
So you can speak now. How many languages can you speak now?
Well, French, pretty well. English, it's coming. and a smattering of German still, just from high school and all that, yeah.
Because I mean, I guess when you do acting, you have to have an ear for different accents.
I was constantly having to relearn different sounds. I was kept listening to people, watching behaviours, because they were all different. You're always wrong. You're always in the wrong culture. That's a fantastic lesson for somebody who's going to become an actor. I mean,
Did you know you wanted to be an actor then, or were you just taking it?
But at 5, I remember 3 kids on a fence outside our house in Switzerland, dirt road. I'm on the dirt road. The 3 kids are on this fence, and they are hanging on to this fence, tears streaming down their cheeks, as I'm doing piss takes of some of the oldies around the place. And I was doing my foster brother, who was 20 years older, so he's 26. And I thought I was doing it pretty well, I thought. I was going, "Oh, yeah." And suddenly they stopped laughing. And I turned around, he's behind me.
See, that's when I would laugh.
I copped a terrible hiding. He must have recognised himself.
Yeah. How are you now when you travel back there to places like France and Europe? Are you?
Oh, love them.
Yeah.
It's like going back to a weird kind of prehistoric home that you know and understand. Not as well as Australia, but the reverberations are amazing. And I still have contact. My son just got married, this gets complicated, in Finland. He married a beautiful Finnish young lady, and the grandson and his wife of the people who took me in, who fostered me, they were there. They were the only family I had there at the wedding.
Wow, your family tree must look like a hedge.
That's very good. That's very
It
good.
was all over the place. But that's an interesting thing, though. But yeah, a lot of these characters you do. I mean,
I've played Italians and Greeks and Polacks and Froggies, obviously, and Germans. And so all that has helped. And really, Robert in Mother and Son is the first time I got to play a bloody Aussie.
Yeah. And even then, see the way you said that? You just went straight back into him. Sorry,
you remember it?
Just in case, yeah.
Hello?
He was on a TV show, lasted 10 years, called Mother and Son. Not sure if you're aware of it. Yes, there we go. So, yeah, and we know that's an authentic round of applause because we don't really have a floor manager to... you know, and we don't have applause signs or anything like that. So you know anything that these people give you is authentic.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah, which is why it's hard sometimes. Can you remember your first ever acting role?
Well, again, this is Greenwich Primary.
Not getting paid, not...
Oh, getting paid.
Not taking the piss.
But again,
Acting,
you see, it's really important that the minute I could speak English, and we had an extraordinary teacher called Chandler. Now get this, I still remember his name. So I was 9, Greenwich Primary.
I remember Mrs. Robinson.
A guy called...
But no, not that one. I actually had a Mrs. Robinson.
Did you really?
I always remember her because
And she was a good teacher?
I had no idea. But she'd lean a lot over the table.
Love it, yeah. We had a music teacher and she'd wear dresses that sort of folded over.
Yeah.
And if you were really clever, you know, when she leaned, oh, it was great.
Yeah.
I love it. Anyway. So, Chandler had a repertory theatre going in that school so that, you know, we used to get the school magazine. Do they still do the school magazine thing? So,
it's probably a blog.
So every week... So the first week of the year, one class would start working on a play, on that play in that magazine. There were 8 classes in the school, 2/3, 2/4, 2/5, 2/6. And so by the 8th week, the first class would put on their play, and then the following, and then start working on a new one. So there was this repertory system there, and of course I took to this like a duck to water. It was incredible. It was reminiscent of when I was 5, when I came out terrified. I mean, absolutely terrified of the audience. And that terror made me able to really, really communicate with them, to connect, incredibly. Bullies would talk to me afterwards in the playground.
From doing theatre?
From doing plays, yeah.
Wow.
So I knew then that there was something there and I wanted to do it. I don't know what my first professional... Oh, yes! Paint Your Wagon! A 6 weeks tour of New South Wales for the Arts Council of Paint Your Wagon. And I played this tiny little role, and I was stage manager as well, and I helped clean up the... Oh.
Yeah, see, you have to do everything.
But I love the business.
Yeah. That's, well, what's it like, though, taking some of these plays out to the country towns? Because you do sometimes...
Oh, I'm doing it now. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
It's the fundamental... There are 2 fundamental ways that I regard show business. There were guys in caves around a fire, and everybody's sitting around. This guy's telling the story of the hunt, or whatever, you know, or the ancestry, and everybody's listening. And then, thousands of years later, you've got a guy coming into the little village, unrolls his little mat, puts a little hat down or something, and starts telling a story, and hopefully people come out of their huts, because he's interesting.
Mm. Do you have a hat? Do you have a hat?
No, I left it at home. And so touring is doing that. It's taking, hopefully, good theatre to places that don't often get it.
We really do hope that some of these people get out, because a lot of them, they just go, you know what, it's footy weekend, you know, we're not, but, you know, you really, if you want to give them something different, then they'll...
But they do, they come out.
Yeah.
They come out. Particularly if they know you from, you know, from the telly.
Yeah.
It's,
that helps, doesn't it? That
Absolutely.
helps. Oh, yeah. Because you did Travelling North on Stage.
Yes.
Yeah. And then
the film.
So, and a lot of people didn't
How do you know that?
Wikipedia.
That's... Yeah,
because I know that when I did read about it, though, I thought it just reminded me of the story there with Kirk Douglas and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He did the play. But then didn't get to do the film. But you were lucky enough to be able to.
But do you know that story? Do you know the story behind that?
With his son being the producer, and
his son was going to produce the film, so that Kirk Douglas, his dad, could play it in the movie.
Because he was playing it on Broadway or on stage.
Yeah, I didn't know that bit.
Yeah, he was already
I just knew
playing
that
it,
the son, Michael Douglas, was producing it in order for Kirk, his dad, to come back into films. He'd been away from films for a long time. And he couldn't get the money if his dad was in it.
Yeah.
And so Jack Nicholson got the part, and they never spoke again, like, for 50 years. It was horrendous. It was horrendous.
Yeah.
There is no business like show.
Keep it in the family. Look, but we've got to wrap it up. But are you a Shakespeare fan or not?
Yeah. I mean, if I understand it, if I've studied it.
Yeah, because
I can't really.
I've got a quick quiz for you.
Oh,
I won't.
I'm
No.
gonna die here.
No. Well, every Shakespeare character does.
Very good.
Okay. One of the most famous speeches, obviously, the Hamlet one. Okay. Now, I'll just see if you can get the second line. I'll do the first line. See if you can continue it. You ready? To be. Oh yeah, everyone knows this bit. Or not to be. That is the question.
Whether 'tis nobler in man's mind, what?
In the mind.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind, I don't know.
To suffer the slings and arrows.
Listen, the show I'm doing at the moment, I do the opening number, the opening piece, is threatening to bore them crapless by doing a speech from King Lear.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on, so I'm out there doing Lear, and you can see them thinking, what the fuck, you know, I thought this was going to be funny, you know. And then I break out of it. I've killed it for you now, don't come and see it.
I know. Come and see it, you'll know the inside information. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank you. Henri Szeps for me. Thank you. We'll be back after the break with Katie McKee.